Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use the promo code DNVR25. You'll get 25% off your entire purchase of that CBD-infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I'm your host, Drew Creasman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is beat writer Patrick Lyons. And on this episode, we're diving deep into this Colorado Rockies versus Seattle Mariners two-game set. May as well. They're only going to play a couple of them. See where these two teams are at right now. Jump into the Armen Marquez roller coaster ride of fun that we've been on lately and see if this can continue. Celebrate, that's right, Colorado, that Connor Joe is back. Huge news in Colorado Rockies universe. Chris Owings going back on the IL real quick. Nothing major. Just Connor Joe's back, but excited to see it. But Patrick, they're back to playing baseball again, and it's not the stinking Dodgers, so they're at home playing some baseball. Should be a fun little two-game set.
And it's against their true rival of the Seattle Mariners, as you said, Connor Joe. It's a Connor Joe day. He's batting second in the lineup, playing in left field, which means Nomar Tapia still. Talking with Redmond just before we went to air, said Tapia's will be available if they need him in a spot. So he does seem to be ready. Could just be a little bit of that Marco Gonzales on the hill, former Rocky Mountain High School graduate right here in Colorado. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But it could be the lefty-lefty matchup, so maybe we see him tomorrow. But one guy we definitely will see, and is definitely left-handed, is Austin Gomber. The return after a rehab start last week in Albuquerque, threw about 63 pitches, 4 innings pitched. So his number looks to push up higher than that. That means Chi goes back to the bullpen. In the meantime, even though he did just start on Friday night, Redmond did say Gilbreth, Lawrence, Santos, all those guys can go multiple innings. As you said, it was just the All-Star break, so they're all rested. They all threw about 1 inning over the weekend. So a lot of good returns, a lot of good comebacks getting set the next 2 days.
Yeah, and I think obviously, Gomber's the one you got to be most excited about, both in terms of what it means for the team's ability to play better, more competitive baseball, and really for the long-term future. You want to see this really be the year that Austin Gomber discovers himself and cements for himself as much as anything. I belong here. I can do this. I can be this guy. I am going to be an important cog in this machine moving forward. And so you got to see him now reestablish that after this off stretch here, right, with the injury. And Bud Black did say just before the All-Star game that, he stopped just short of saying that Gomber's injury was perfectly timed. But he basically said, at some point this year, we were going to shut Austin down or worried about his number of innings, right? Because this is his first full year as a starter, coming after last year where not only was he reliever, but we didn't play 162 games. So you can't just, make a guy throw 200 innings. That was never going to be in the cards for Austin Gomber. So they kind of went, with this injury and then the All-Star break, we were basically able to shut him down for a couple of weeks, which we were going to have to do at some point. So they obviously now hope he's healthy the rest of the way, and they just don't have to worry about the training wheels or whatever. They can just let him go. And so that's pretty cool too.
As much as some old school folks watching this game may want to look back and talk about Tom Seaver or even Randy Johnson, guys who threw a lot of pitches. Yeah. They were on the mound for many, many innings. That isn't the way of the game anymore. Now you can't even go 3 times through the order. So whether, it might be frustrating to think like, how much money is this guy making? And he should be able to. Not anymore. No, teams aren't asking their guys to do that anymore. They just want the best. They want them high velocity, and so that means less innings, and that means less pitches thrown, and that means saving less rather than setting a guy up in the first at bat, maybe even the second at bat, because he knows later on it's going to be more of an important out because maybe there isn't bullpen help, and there aren't those specialized guys. So the game is just totally different. So. It might be frustrating to hear you say that, right? Like, wait, what do you mean? Like, he's he could whoop our asses. Like, why wouldn't he be able to ? And you go, look, the game is different, man. They put a lot of high pressure and a lot of workload on these guys to do what they do, and they're breaking down. You know, it's one reasons why that the extra inning rule is in place for better or worse. And again, that's a topic for another day. But that's one of those things. Say like, how important is extra innings than keeping a guy healthy so that he doesn't go on the 10-day IL and misses more than that and has to have a rehab start. And now you're down to your 6th, 7th starter. And you're like, well, this isn't our team. This isn't the guys that we thought on the 26-man roster that we were going to take to the postseason. Now you got to count on a lot more than that. So I applaud the Rockies for doing that. And I guess that's a positive thing, right? That's a good thing that, as you said, his injury came at this time versus any other time.
Kind of weird and funny to say, but you're right.
Sure.
And my response to that, I'm not the first person to make the baseball as a marathon analogy, but I think it's perfect to use in these kinds of situations where, like you said, when people want to go, well, why can't they just, and it's kind of like saying, well, why can't you sprint out of the blocks in a marathon? It's like, well, you can. No one's stopping you from doing that, right? Or at any point during the marathon, just going into an all-out sprint. Like you could do that, but you dramatically increase the chances that you're going to hurt yourself and that you're not going to be able to finish the race strong. And this part is, this middle part is just as important as the next part and just as important as the end part. So,
and maybe there's one guy who can do that. Maybe there is a guy who does that and holds on to win that marathon. They might not set a world record, but they might win the race. And you're like, well, that's just as important. But that's one guy, right? Yeah. That's not every single guy that's in the marathon that, isn't coming from a runner. When I line up for a race, I never go into it expecting to win, even if it's a 5K. But I do expect for like my age group, right, to do really well. And that's something you find out later on down the line. So that would be true for Austin Gomber, where, again, he's not going after the Cy Young Award. Then again, the most innings pitched doesn't equal the Cy Young Award.
Yeah, right.
Too, right? So it's not even that.
Right.
It's just this thing like we're all doing our own race. We're all just trying to have our own personal best, right?
Right. Well, speaking of personal best, someone who's personal best lately that has been very, very good. We've talked about it a little bit with Marquez. Basically being on no-hitter watch when he faces one of these teams, a team like Seattle that has been no-hit, and that he nearly no-hit. He was, in fact, perfect against for 7 of 8 innings in Seattle last time again. Now, he did actually get tagged for a run when the no-hitter / perfect game was broken up. So was the shutout on a solo home run. You hate it when all that happens, but possibility to dominate. And, oh, wow, DraftKings only has him at 5.5 strikeouts. Not great. Only -110 for taking the over. So they like his chances to beat that number pretty comfortably. They've set it low. I almost wish they'd bump it up to 6.5 and give us better odds there so we can, because I think he's getting his strikeouts. I think he's feeling good coming off the All-Star game, all that stuff. He knows he can get the better of this lineup. I like the over there.
Yeah, that seems like pretty much a gimme. Our starters maybe getting less strikeouts their first time back since the All-Star break, maybe. But I very much like his odds to continue the run he's had in strikeouts. Did have, it's funny, since that Cincinnati start, which was one of his 2 really bad outings, the one at home against the Giants, less than an inning, 8 earned runs, abysmal. The one against the Reds, still bad, but not atrocious. 5 innings pitched, 8 earned runs. He gave up 12 hits that day. Since then, he's given up 12 hits. So on June 12th, he gives up 12 hits. Yeah, and in over a month, he's given up 12 hits. And that does include a scoreless inning in the All-Star game. So since then, he's been pretty much a lock to get over those 5 strikeouts. So I think that's as close to a gimme. I'm glad that was the first thing you brought up. Because even if you turn us off right now, I think you got at least 1 W. Stick around, please. We want to win you more than that. But even right now, I think that's a pretty good bet to win.
Yeah. I really like that one. I think he's going to go out, do well. He's just been so good lately. There was the one pitch that he threw that got hit for a 2-run home run, Harrison Bader. And that's like the main damage. That's like the only guy who's really gotten him in a month. It's Harrison Bader, who's not a good hitter also for a major league guy. So it was like that. There was kind of an irony in there that he put one pitch over the middle. Bader, I'm pretty sure, closed his eyes and swung at it, hit a 2-run jack, and that is like 60% of the damage that's been done against Marquez in the last month. Like, all right.
Yeah, he's been super dominant, and hitters do prefer seeing a pitcher more than once, and so the more familiarity you have, the more comfortable you feel. So that obviously would bode well, for Mariners hitters, and they're kind of scraping along. They're doing that thing of a rebuilding team, a tanking team, really, that is on the come up, and you say, oh, this was not the year we were expecting them to really jump into the fray of the postseason and to be around 500 or better than 500. And then, they're doing it a year early, which usually seems to be the case when the eyes are set on maybe 2022 and 2023. They're doing it right now. So they definitely have something to play for, but anytime Germán Marquez goes out on the mound, he has something to pitch for. He is trying to pitch into history. He already did it with the All-Star game. Yeah. And now I think Buddy is definitely the Marquez whisperer right now. Yeah. Like we talked, you almost don't want him to start that game in Colorado. You start the All-Star game at Coors Field. So there's another carrot. There's another notch in his belt that he needs to, kind of reach or ascend to. And I'm sure Buddy's saying, hey, first time right after the All-Star break, go out there, shove, and make some more history. Continue to lower that ERA. Why wouldn't he be in the conversation right now for Cy Young Award? Sure. Conversation. Again,
right. We understand.
He's trying to get votes, right? Again, that's a rarity.
I said that whole thing about, if Jacob deGrom gets hurt, he went right on the IL.
And then he gets hurt.
And then he got hurt, and I was like, well.
So, Drew, you're the injury whisperer right there. You speak it comes to fruition. And so again, he has something to play for, right? And as much as, somebody like CJ Cron, you go, well, he's got something to play for. Hey, maybe he's auditioning for another team to trade. Okay, that's something you put out. You're not looking around the stands going, who's the scout? I really want to make sure I look good in my uniform today. And
right. It's not
you're playing the game. Whatever happens. It's all out of your control. But Marquez absolutely, can control the outcome of this game and control, the second half of the season for him and do some huge things.
He's got this reality in front of him too. I think this is something you've done a really good job of talking about. I tried to write about it a couple of weeks ago of this, like, he knows that it's right there for him to do all of the things. Throw the first no-hitter by a Rockies pitcher at Coors Field. It was right there. And he's been close before. So he knows that's there for him. Become the strikeout king of the team. He knows if he just stays steady and does what he does, that he's going to fly by the strikeout record and the WAR record and the wins and all of that stuff. He's going to become the king of Rockies pitching. But I'm with you. There's this thing. I still think he should have started the All-Star game. But if that is this extra thing that he's motivated to try to start the All-Star game next year, because I do know that he thinks that. You're 100% right that he thinks that way. He was very candid after not getting the no-hitter last time about, like, I want to do this. I've been so close to throwing the no-hitter 4 or 5 times in his career now, and he hasn't been able to finish it off. And so I think he goes out there trying to throw a note, like immediately in his mind going, no one has to get on base today. And that's a powerful place to be for a pitcher to take the mound thinking that way. So, and I agree. He keeps doing what he's doing. And if Jacob deGrom keeps getting hurt, then this could turn into the Marquez Kevin Gausman race in a hurry.
How many pitchers really have the temerity to not just say it, but to really feel like anytime they step out on the mound, they can throw a no-hitter? I mean, I think anyone in a major league rotation is aware, like, yeah, obviously, if I'm riding the pine, I'm going to guess I'm not going to throw a no-hitter today from the bench, but like really goes out and kind of thinks that. And I think it's probably in the back of a lot of guys' heads, but, for Marquez, as you said, you could see it in that post game. You could see that look he had in his eyes, like, you know what, I'm striving for this thing. And I think he's been for a while, and I think he continues to kind of reach these different thresholds, right? And he
Right.
gets closer, and you get a taste of it, and it's and again, for him to really talk about it, because I think it's something a lot of guys don't talk about. I'm not necessarily sure why. I don't know if they just want to jinx it, if they're just like, they just kind of know that it's not gonna happen, and maybe Marquez knows something that we don't, in a sense. I don't know.
Happen. He knows it's gonna happen. That's what I love about it. He's like, this is a matter of time. And you're right. That's a short list of guys. That puts you in the class of the Scherzers and the Verlanders and the Kershaws and the guys who don't walk to the mound going, all right, man, you could throw no hitter today. If everything goes right and everything goes perfect, you got the 10, you're hyping themselves up. They're guys who walk to the mound going, if I do everything right, no hitters in the cards. So,
and that's it. And luck that's out of your control, right? There's an element of luck to it, but I think that speaks to Marquez, his stuff, and that speaks to a lot of what people around him have probably been telling him, particularly Bud Black, is like, no, you have no hit stuff. Anyone can throw a no hitter. Like I made a spot start in high school and had a perfect game going to the 5th inning. I did not have no hit stuff. Like I was not a strikeout artist. I was a junk baller, 3/4, sometimes went a little sidearm. Once in a while would dip into submarine, but I did not have no hit stuff. And there's probably a lot of guys out there in the same boat at various levels, but he does. When you swing and miss as frequently, or rather when you get swings and misses as frequently as German Marquez does, you have that ability. You have something special. And for all of the outings you could point to where, maybe it was a little bit shorter than you would have expected, right? Again, in Cincinnati with those 5 innings and 8 earned runs, you go, man, just a little bit off on both ends. Didn't go to 6 or 7 innings, gave up 8 runs as opposed to 3 or 4 or even 5 in that bandbox called Great American Ballpark. He can sense, like, he was a couple things away. There were a couple elements that if you say, if this had gone the right way, or if I had done this differently, then ... wouldn't have happened. It was something that I can remember from a couple of years ago. Maybe it was 2019, where you had correctly identified, and it was something I hadn't really thought of in that moment, of like, no, Buddy's leaving him out there. He had gotten himself into a jam.
to get wrecked. Yeah.
And he was getting his butt handed to him. And it was like, okay, he doesn't have it today.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, the game was over at that point to a degree, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, there's nothing you're going to do to go to the bullpen. So you know what? You need to figure out, this is a learning lesson for you, German. And to say, like, you do the little things well, the big things take care of themselves. And so you get that ground ball, or you do a better job of pitching outside to a guy to kind of minimize damage, whatever it is, or not shaking off your pitcher, working in rhythm, then certain things don't happen, and it doesn't lead to that big 5-run inning, or again, 8 earned runs in Cincinnati. Whatever it is, that doesn't happen. And you're like, just one pitch, just that one pitch can change everything, and you have to be that sharp. And so I think all of those lessons have really added up for Marquez, and he is in the zone.
Yeah.
In the friggin' zone.
Really fun to watch tonight. Like I said, I've got the over on his strikeouts. Let's get a few more of these for you, but they are all brought to you, of course, by our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Always fun to watch your sports and throw a little money down on whatever's going on. We're about to give you a whole bunch of examples for the game tonight. Usually strikeouts, home runs, who's going to get hits, overs, unders. You can bet at bat during the game if you like calling it, if you like getting a feel for what's going on out there. Obviously, you got basketball, hockey, and football always to bet on, when they're going, and the Olympics coming up, which is super cool and fun and awesome. I might get in on some of this because I love watching the Olympics, but oftentimes I feel like I'm just kind of, you flip around, you root for America, but I need an incentive to learn that extra bit, to know who I've got to take in the women's 100-meter butterfly, or in the javelin toss or whatever it may be. Like, I need to know. I got to get on there. So that way I can become a full-on Olympics junkie, which I love doing. If you're like me and you enjoy doing that, actually, even if you don't care about the Olympics at all, you can very easily take advantage of this program. If you're a big Olympics junkie, then you'll know whether or not America might win a medal. They're going to win a medal, folks. They'll win very, very many of them. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR when you sign up. Turn $1 into $100 in free credits if America wins a medal. Let's go DNVR to turn $1 into $100 in free credits for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. All right. I'll tell you. So I already took the over on Marquez strikeouts. I do like the over on Marco Gonzales strikeouts as well. Colorado native, as you pointed out. Not a huge strikeout guy all the time, but plus 135 on over 4.5. No Tapia, no Daza, right? So some of the best Rockies contact hitters out of the lineup. I like Marco Gonzales at better odds there to get you some strikeouts tonight.
Yeah, I like your thinking about that as far as how will those outs come? And again, if you've got guys that aren't necessarily putting the ball in play quite as much, Hampson leading off, again, he's prone to his big multi-hit games, but we know he has also had a couple, 3 strikeout performances. I think he did have a golden sombrero at one point, didn't he?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just been story so far this year. So I do like that angle, and I guess I probably would take the over on that. Gonzalez has had a rough year. So far, kind of, I think he was battling back from injury and was nearly an all-star, a couple years ago. Yeah. Only 29 years old, signed a nice little extension. So he's been really, really big for him. And this is where he made his major league debut. And I'm sure he even played a couple games here in high school. You'd probably have to like the odds of something like that. So, I like the odds of taking the over on that for sure.
Yeah. As you said, the Rockies with a couple of guys prone to strike out in there. Also lefties, lefties have often been a little bit of an issue for this team. So you're like, as opposed to power, I guess is what I'm saying. They're stuff lefties as opposed to power lefties. So yeah, I think that one will be interesting. That just brought up the lineups. I was double checking. Connor Joe is batting second and out in left field, going right. So that's the top of that lineup is going to be, I think, one of the most interesting things. If it's a good night for Hampson and Joe, I think it'll be a good night for the Rockies. If they struggle, because they can both be pretty iffy, it's going to be, I think, a bit of a rough one for them. What else we got on here? Let's see. Rockies we
do have hits, right? You always got to look at hits. Cantabi's not in the starting lineup, so he shouldn't be at 1.5. Though it just wouldn't surprise me that's just almost the standard bearer there. No, he's you can't bet on him right now. No. But it's funny how you got the 8-hitter Josh Fuentes at over 1.5. Same thing for Garrett Hampson, Blackman, CJ Crone, Brendan Rodgers, even JP Crawford, the Mariners, all over 1.5.
Yeah.
The only real guy that you're saying, he got a hit is former All-Star Kyle Seager, big third baseman in his final year of contract with the Mariners. He's only at 0.5, and so that's minus 250 on that. So, okay, we could see that.
Yeah,
that certainly wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah, I like that. I like Kyle Seager. I've always liked him as a player, and I like either one of those Seager boys to get big hits against the Rockies. So that's a smart one. They're really tightening up on these home run odds. I don't know if they just think that. I don't know what they think is going on tonight, but I noticed it's like you're only getting plus 275 for Trevor Story to hit a home run. And it's not like he's been tearing the cover off the ball lately. Plus 250 for CJ Crone to hit a homer. That's hardly anything.
No. And what are the odds going against?
Minus 500, minus.
Jeez.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah,
really liking the odds. Really liking the odds for something like that to happen. Yeah. Gonzalez has given up 15 home runs and 11 starts so far this season. So
Okay.
something like that definitely could go down. I mean, you'd probably
Rogers at plus 320 might be your better
could
bet
be
there.
your value pick.
Yeah.
Could be your value pick. And of course, any Mariners to hit a homer. I think you definitely would take the no. It's not going to pay you very much, but Marquez has only given up 8 home runs this entire season, and he's given up 2 since May 27th. So
Wow.
that's and one of them was in Seattle. So that was the.
That's right, the one that broke. And then the other one was the Harrison Bader one that I talked about at Coors Field.
So, yes, former teammate of Marco Gonzales, both came out of the Cardinals organization. Yeah. So you like the symmetry there. It's kind of interesting.
That is, I like that. I think I might, if I'm going to go a home run tonight, I like Rogers for the Rockies. Like you said, not a great bet to pick a Mariner, but if you just like the longest odds for fun, it's J.P. Crawford at plus 650, which is normally what you can get on just about anybody to hit a home run. But that's kind of fun. Ty France, they like it plus 450. They're tightening up on those home runs. They're onto my game. They figured out that if you just throw down $5 on somebody to hit a home run, that pays out huge. And it's
if you're in another state, and maybe that's how you win a little bit more. I mean, we are doing this, on StreamYard, so we're not in the same place here as we record. So if you just travel to another state, they're gonna go, this person might not know exactly what's going on. We're going to give different odds to people in Colorado when it comes to Rockies games because they know what's going on, especially if they're listening to DNVR Rockies. One bet that I do like, I'm actually going to say, and I've been noticing a certain trend here for a little while. My DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week, the official Patrick Lyons DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week is for Charlie Blackmon to get an RBI today. By hook or by crook, it doesn't matter how he does it. No. But when guys are on base, Connor Joe's super hot right now. Trevor Story hitting in front of him in the lineup. He just gets it done. He can grind it out and he'll get his RBI by hook or by crook. It could even just be a ground ball to second base. It would be interesting to see how many RBI he had that didn't include a base hit because he is very adept at doing that. So my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week is for Charlie Blackmon. Just have one RBI, minus 110. It's going to happen today, so lock it in.
Love that. Here's one I know you like a lot of times, Patrick. We talked about this during the All-Star game. I don't check it as often as I should, and it usually goes the other way. Score in the first inning. Anyone to score in the first inning, no is actually plus 135. Now, I think Now we know that when Marquez has got a lot of times it's been early, and you mentioned got.
When he gets got, he got early.
And you mentioned Gonzalez having his issues this year, though. Again, we know he's got Hampson, who's up and down, Joe, who's literally up and down from majors to minors, and then struggling, maybe not struggling story with the golden sombrero in his last game, but then came up with the big sac fly late. So I like the no here. I like no runs scored in the first inning, especially because usually you're not going to get plus 135. It's just 2 half frames where nobody scores, which I feel like is typically the norm, right? I like that.
Yeah, I'd say so. Marquez in the first inning, that's actually been his worst inning.
Yeah.
And how much is that? Again, he did give up 8 runs in that giant start. So I mean, if you throw that out, that actually changes and skews the numbers quite a bit. It's funny. His numbers as the game goes on get somewhat better. So he has the bad first inning against the Giants, so that's skewed things. 5.79 ERA in the first. In the second, an even 4. In the third, an even 3. In the fourth inning, 2 ERA. And so by that point, he's already seen you twice, or you've already seen him twice, second time around in the order. Fifth inning, 2.25. Sixth inning, 3.68. Seventh inning, 3 even. Eighth inning, 0. Ninth inning, 0.
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent. So if there's going to be a chance for the Mariners to score a run, it's going to be to somehow catch them off guard early and score that. But I don't see that happening today. I don't see that happening.
Here's what I think you do, though. I'm going to trick them. I'm tricking the system right here. I'm going to put a small dollar amount on no one scores in the first inning, but you can also get plus 100 on the Rockies to score the first run of the game. I think if anybody scores in the first inning, I think it'll be the Rockies against Marco Gonzales. So I'm going to take both of those. And then if they don't score in the first and they score in the second before the Mariners do, you can cash in both bets. But at least that way, if the Rockies score in the first and the Mariners don't, you don't get the no runs in the first inning bet, but you land on this Rockies having scored first bet at plus 100.
That's pretty sound thinking. I cannot argue with that.
Got to have me on that bets show, man.
One thing I you also can't argue with is this new fun feature on DraftKings Sportsbook, and it's most bases matchup. So you got to scroll all the way past home runs allowed, where you can see how many home runs the opposing pitcher is going to give up. So most bases matchup. You can decide who's going to have more bases, Charlie Blackmon or Ty France, Charlie Blackmon or Mitch Haniger, Charlie Blackmon or Kyle Seager, Blackmon or catcher Luis Torrens. That one's pretty easy. Blackmon minus 170. Brendan Rodgers or Ty France.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that.
And Brendan Rodgers is a favorite. He's favored. He's minus 145. Rodgers versus Haniger, Rodgers Seager, Rodgers Torrens, Story France, Story Haniger, Story Seager, Story Torrens. That's pretty cool. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I love that concept because it's bases too.
Yeah. Total bases.
And Story goes like 1 for 5, and you go, man, every 5 at bats. All right, Rockies ended up scoring about 7 runs. He had a solo homer. He was kind of quiet. Everybody else had a multi-hit outing. You're like, he didn't do so great. 4 bases.
4 bases.
4 bases for a home run. I don't know if that's in a DNVR exclusive, but you do get 4 bases when you hit a home run.
I believe that's right. We were on that first. That's really cool. Yeah, I can definitely see myself getting way into that. I like a Rodgers versus a lot of those guys matchup. I like Rodgers to have a nice game tonight. I think that's the guy I'm picking as my Rockies hitter of the game tonight. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Like I said, I think small unit on the home run for him, but wish the odds were better there.
One other little baseball tidbit.
He's not in the lineup. Never mind. Take out everything I just said. I looked at an earlier lineup. Never mind. Get rid of all that. Hop off of Brendan Rodgers. Bail. Everyone, get rid of the money. Pull it out. Put it all on Connor Joe. No.
Oh, yeah. Fuentes is at third base tonight. McMahon's at second. Okay. Yeah, I did see that and didn't fully absorb it. But what I did absorb is there are 2 things you can bet on DraftKings Sportsbook related to baseball. One is everything in MLB. And then even if you're watching the game, you can bet on balls and strikes. But you can also bet on the Olympics baseball. USA. Team USA is in it, along with Japan, South Korea, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and Israel. And U.S. is not the favorite. It's actually Japan at plus 175, South Korea plus 300, USA plus 350, Mexico plus 500, Dominican Republic plus 550, Israel plus 3,000.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in on that.
And look, we could go on and on about that South Korean team. I would rather not address the issues with Mexico's bullpen right now, so I'm not going to get into that. Who's going to be closing out games? Look, bottom line, Team USA plus 350. That's another one you can lock in. That's a free pick of the week. That's the pick of the Olympics. USA to take the gold medal in baseball plus 350. It's the pick of the month, pick of the Olympics.
Will, I don't think DraftKings gives you odds on no-hitters, unfortunately. That would be a lot of fun if you could get on there and predict a no-hitter. You would think that they'd always have to be super long odds, but yeah. Get on there, make a little bit of extra money. And hey, if you make a whole lot of extra money, you may be in the market for a new house, or you may just be looking around for any of that stuff anyway, trying to check out the market right now, figure out your loan situation. And we all know that can be super frustrating. Trust me. I know. But also trust me, our friends at Chevalier Mortgage can help you out. They can take care of all of that, take the stress and the burden off of your shoulders and put it onto their own. They know all about this stuff. Plus, they are huge huge Denver sports fans. They're big supporters of DNVR, so they're a part of the family too. That way you know that you're not dealing with this total stranger in this really important kind of intimate moment in your life that you're trying to figure out. You're doing it with Mike and Virginia Chevalier. You're doing it with members of the DNVR family, just like talking to people in the Discord channel or getting together down at the DNVR bar. All the things that we do together, they're a part of that. Absolutely love the work they do. Right now, they're hooking you up with a fantastic deal too, because if you go to DNVRmortgage.com, you can enter to win a free DNVR shirt or hat. But most importantly, you get set up with a totally free consultation to discuss all of your options. That's DNVRmortgage.com. You can also call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578 or Mike at 970-412-2472. Mike and Virginia Chevalier, the protectors of the realm. Let them protect your realm. Michael Chevalier, NMLS number 1931006, and Virginia Chevalier, NMLS 1910631. And also, of course, we got to give a huge shout out to our phenomenal friends over at Solace Meds. Solace Meds has some of the best herb you've ever seen, smelled, or tasted in your life, whether you prefer the flower, the edibles, the tinctures. They got one-to-ones, they got CBD stuff, they got cartridges, they got everything and anything under the sun in a whole wide range of prices, whether you're just trying to keep in stock or whether or not you need a little bit of luxury items, you're having some specialty. They do deals all the time. They've even got something called CBN, which is something that I'd never heard of. It's like a sleep agent. It's like the CBD stuff, like the next step or whatever. So these guys are on the cutting edge. Everything you could possibly think of, they've got it down there. They've got some fantastic, super convenient locations here in Colorado. There's one in Fort Collins, one in Wheat Ridge, one off of Broadway, and one that's just blocks away from the DNVR bar on East Colfax, just down the way. Very, very convenient if you ever swing by the bar. I cannot highly recommend enough that you swing into Solace Meds, and make sure you just mention you've got the DNVR code. If you're online, enter DNVR20. You just tell them at the checkout if you go into the store, DNVR, and boom, they'll hook you up with 20% off your entire purchase every single time. So go to SOLACE Meds, that's solacemeds.com, and purchase from there. Go on down to the store. And if you go to the Wheat Ridge one, they'll also hook you up with a free Solace Bar King Cone when you use that promo code. So check them out, Solace Meds, man. They're the absolute best.
And ask if they've got any left-on-left matchups, spot starters, or platoon splits. You'll really mess them up. I mean, they've got a lot of different things and acronyms.
Go in and order a platoon split and see how long they go looking for that, because they probably got something. If there isn't something in one of those shops called the platoon split, and I was promised, Patrick, that when Bud Black signed here, there was going to be an explosion of Bud-related marijuana strains at all the dispensaries. I've yet to encounter a single one. I've seen no budding black, but there's so many possibilities there. I don't know what people are sleeping on. Somebody get in a room and figure it out.
And maybe even somewhat ironically, with Buddy out with the COVID protocols, acting manager is named Mike Redmond. So you got that too. You got options.
Redmond, how do you not? Come on.
Could be trivia down at the bar. I know we got some folks
tonight
here. Trivia is going down. If you've been watching for the past year plus, some of the questions that appeared on Hitting for the Cycle,
there you go,
will be in that group. So we'll kind of wait and see. And I don't know which.
You have to have remembered them too. Like, have you ever played a round of Jeopardy? Are you a Jeopardy guy? I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I figured you were. And they've got them on Netflix or wherever. Have you ever accidentally done a rewatch and you're doing the game and then you still don't know some of the questions and you're like, damn it, I remember this one. This is a rerun and I remember not remembering this question last time.
There was I got snowed in this town in Western Pennsylvania once, and every day when I woke up, they had the same episode of Jeopardy on, and so I actually memorized it. And so when we were when we were watching it all downstairs in the hotel I was staying in, I got every one, and they were so impressed. I learned how to play piano when I was there. It was. You know what? It was a time that I really struggled with, but in the end, it made me a better person. So
this is I would watch that season of that show. It's like a really good, and my mom's right. The first time we had randomly gone into, actually we went searching for a sports trivia night a couple of years ago down in Denver, and went into Colfax Sports Brew and Pub or whatever it was called back then, and they had a nice little time. So we actually played some trivia there once before it became the DNVR bar. But yeah, very, very excited to get in on that. Yeah.
It's going to be good. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I don't think we're allowed to play, so that's, well, again, partially understandable since I did write some of the questions for
I was going
to Rockies related trivia. But even still, I feel like I might be able to hold my own. I don't know. We got. I say that, but then I think about how hardcore our community is and how well-rounded they are. Yeah. I'm not actually as well-rounded as maybe I'd like to be. I say that, but at the same time, just give me more baseball.
I was going to say,
just give me more baseball.
Football questions, I'm going to start falling apart and stuff. But I'm very.
I have a little idea what's going on with the expansion draft, but at the same time, I'll read another article about the automated strike zone and what's happening in the minor leagues before I really have a complete understanding about exposing Gabriel Landeskog. Like, sorry, but I'm just a baseball guy. That's it.
I know. But I'm going to be down. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait to get that thing going. Hopefully, I'm very curious to see like how people do. Like if we're going to have to make the questions even harder, if our people are just too smart. We'll find out.
Oh, I got some trivia for you. So since we got Marco Gonzales getting the start for the Rockies, made his debut in 2014. I was actually there randomly. Went to that game. I think he doubled in his first at bat, which is kind of wild. So I was like, hey, this is a great story. This kid from St. Louis, kid from the Cardinals, from Fort Collins and making his debut in Colorado. That's pretty special. So it got me thinking today, hey, let's kind of celebrate some more of the Colorado-born players. And there's been about under 100 people who've been born in Colorado and have made it to the majors. Drew, and I ask you this because anytime I do ask you questions, always one I feel very confident that you can get.
All right.
That almost sounds like a put down. No, I'm saying it because I don't want to set you up for something really obscure that's going to maybe make you look silly. No, you've got your finger on the pulse when it's concerned with Colorado baseball. How many Colorado-born players have ever played for the
Rockies?
Don't worry about naming them just yet, but what would that number – that might be a question that you do see at trivia tonight perhaps, but we're thinking Colorado-born players.
Not many. Wow.
A couple. Of a couple as is, but are there any more than that couple?
I'm just going to think this out loud, all right? Because staring at my laptop isn't the best podcasting at this particular moment. My initial reaction was to think somewhere in the teens.
Ooh, okay.
But I think a lot of that is this kind of the narratively driven, like they've never been good at getting Colorado people and they need to be better at getting Colorado people. And I'm going, well, like, I'm sure there are guys who've just been there. You know what I mean?
I would say there are two guys who have just been there. Two guys that are, well, now I'm giving you actual numbers here. Sorry.
It's okay.
There have been only two that have been there. There's some on the roster right now. And two of the other names, you know. A couple other names, you know.
So we're not even into the teens then.
We're not into the teens, no.
It's single digits, yeah. Okay, yeah. I expected the number to be low, but that's especially.
I was a little surprised.
So then the question is, can I name them all? So obviously Kyle Freeland, and what's his name? Didn't Khalil Green? Didn't he get a cup of coffee with the Rockies? I'm trying to remember. I feel like.
I don't know if he was born in Colorado.
I thought he was a Colorado. Or am I mixing him up with – I'm mixing him up with a different shoot. Now I'm totally blanking on names and stuff.
There is only one Khalil Green. There's no, like, Khalil Green type player. He's a very unique cat.
He
I'll
wasn't
say
a
that.
Colorado guy.
So like Sergio Romo isn't necessarily on my list when it comes to Colorado born because he wasn't born in Colorado.
He wasn't born
played
here. He went to
at
school.
Mesa.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then obviously the guys like Holiday never played here.
That's right. So there are two names that one name I know, the other name I don't know, but these are the okay. They're on the list. John Burke, who did not have a very long career. I think he was on the expansion team. And again, some research I had done, I had seen that name before. Yeah. And then Nate Field was another one.
Okay.
And I'll say this. Colorado has never produced a hitter who's ever played for the Rockies. It's only been pitchers.
Interesting.
It's only been pitchers.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways that does track because it's somewhat similar to the Northeast with the amount of snow that Colorado gets, in that if you have pitchers are going to have less wear and tear on their arms. And conversely, hitters are going to have that many less reps, right? That many less opportunities to play. So you're going to see less offensive players out of the Northeast in general when compared with pitchers. Same thing in Colorado. It's not too many. The greatest offensive player in Colorado history that was born here is Chase Headley. And so if that's your number one,
yeah, right. When you're like,
that ain't so good, right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing too, is it's not like Colorado has this grand history of incredible, Hall of Fame caliber players. There's the one guy who's going in the Hall of Fame who was born in Colorado, and that's it. But yeah, that's fascinating. So I don't feel too bad about going into the teens and it being just a little bit lower than that.
I think you're right there. Yeah.
So I had forgotten about Chase Headley, and and then those other two people. John Burke is a name that I remembered having existed.
You've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and of course I know our friend Mark Knudsen. That's the other. That's
Mark Knudsen.
Yeah,
he's the other name that you would recognize besides Freeland and Gilbreth on the current roster.
Right.
And then the last one is a guy that I kind of forgot that he was with Colorado for a minute, and I don't think of him as a Colorado guy. Yeah. You got it? Who are you thinking of? Who are you thinking for that last one?
Because it's Ellerton, right?
Scott Ellerton, that's right.
Scott Ellerton is an all-time. Oh shit! Right? Yeah. Remember him? Like he's a top 10. Where the second you say him, anyone who watched those years remembers. Oh right, that was a thing, but it was such a quick thing. But it was a thing. So it's not like the John Burke or whoever that other guy you mentioned earlier. I was like, I think the reason I only remember John Burke is he was one of their first picks. Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't know if he was their first overall, but he held a distinction of some kind, and that's the reason why that name had been in my head. But the Scott Ellerton thing, it was like everyone thought he was going to be Kyle Freeland, and he just wasn't. It's like, that's too bad.
Yeah, there are currently 10 pitchers in the big leagues right now from Colorado. A couple of names that I wasn't too familiar with: Ryan Burr and Jordan Holloway, who made his debut last year. But former Rockies selection could have been number 7 on the list, J.D. Hammer. He, of course, was traded to the Phillies for Pat Neshek. You have Taylor Rogers, who was he was a late addition all-star. Him and Andrew Kittredge, they were kind of just thrown on the team at the last second. But his brother Tyler Rogers of the Giants, the submarine pitcher. We know Mark Melanson, Kevin Gausman, who we've already mentioned. So, there are some names. Brandon Bailey might get back up in the majors. Again, he was with Houston last year. Another Colorado guy. So
interesting that they're almost all pitchers, isn't it? Yeah, that's
it is, yeah.
There's something that makes it difficult, and year-round baseball is harder in Colorado because we have a winter here, and I wonder if that impacts hitters more than it does pitchers.
Yeah, just you don't have the repetition. I think David Bodie is in fact the only Colorado-born player that is a position player right now. He's the only one.
So I don't feel like such a failure for not making it as a Major League Baseball player. Is what I'm saying. All of a sudden,
you're in the wrong position. Yeah, those long levers of yours that you have, you would have been perfect for it. But
yeah, playing center field, I caught until I was too tall, and they put me out in center. Never tried to pitch. Worst life decision I ever made, apparently.
Yeah, the only other names that sticks out, and this is probably a better, deeper dive for the offseason that I was like, maybe I knew that. I think I must have forgotten it, is Andy and Adam LaRoche. Their father, Dave LaRoche, was from Colorado. Not them, but Dave LaRoche was actually from Colorado. And didn't know that one.
I had forgotten about there's a great story somewhere. Oh, you just reminded me of all this stuff. I got to go and find it. I can't remember who, but there's a great Adam LaRoche Coors Field clubhouse as a youngster, or not as a youngster, but like him bringing his kids in, and then his dad be like a whole family gathering that I'm pretty sure took place here in Denver. I'll see if I can go and find that. I might be putting parts of different stories together, but the LaRoches have a very personal, deep connection to Colorado. I've forgotten about those guys. That's a good one. Solid ball players for a while too.
Yeah. John Stearns was a nice little catcher for a while with the Mets. He was actually essentially a part of one of the final classes of baseball at CU Boulder.
Yeah,
he played ball there, and I think CU Boulder they discontinued in 1980, unfortunately. But John Stearns, and so he's in their Hall of Fame. He's in the Sports Hall of Fame. If you go and check that out in there.
I was going to say, technically, I mean, I gave him credit for one Hall of Famer. No, I'm giving Colorado credit for 2 Hall of Famers. Damn it.
Yep, throw him in on the list. Yeah, and I even went so far as to look up people who have passed away in Colorado. Like they're not from Colorado, but they are now.
All the old gunslingers, by the way. Every old gunslinger from the Old West died in Colorado.
Yeah, there were a couple names I'd recognize from various like biographies and stuff and research about Colorado baseball. But the biggest name to me that stood out was a guy that I thought was kind of a borderline Hall of Famer for a little bit. He has a Hall of Fame name and was a part of, I think, a few really talented Yankees teams. But Urban Shocker. His real name is Urban Shocker. That's fantastic. Wow. He's one of my favorite named players, along with Jack Glasscock. But Urban Shocker is one of my all-time favorites.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm gonna have to end up on that baseball reference page later today.
And I thought I uncovered
Joe Wood.
Smokey Joe. Did he die in Colorado?
I can't remember. I actually think he's from here, Smokey Joe Wood, because they've got this whole thing. You got to go to Ure. Ure is phenomenal. Okay, so it says he was born in Kansas City, Missouri, but he grew up in Colorado. Yeah, so
his high school was in
out here when he was a kid. Yeah. So yeah, not born in or died in his entire youth.
The middle part.
I'm claiming
he was here in the middle parts.
Joe Wood as one of our.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be
the parts that matter.
The parts where you're alive, really, and conscious of what's actually happening around you.
So. Totally right. It was like, all right. Yeah, man. Yeah, Colorado. Any of these other guys, who will be the next great one? Can Kevin Gausman hang out? I like Gausman, man. I think he's got a shot to really be a star, but it's going to be tough for any of these guys to be the next Roy Halladay. And will there ever be a position player?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the guys that you say, hey, maybe he can be someone. Jack Moss out of Cherry Creek went to ASU this past year. Decided not too long ago to transfer, so he'll be going to Texas A&M. So that might put his clock back a little bit. But big power hitting first baseman that was kind of supposed to take the Spencer Torkelson, then they run over pick last year, and so now he's going to be an Aggie. And maybe he is the next Chase Headley. What every Colorado kid dreams about is someday maybe I will be the next Chase Headley.
I could have been me. I just missed it by that much.
You just didn't know him because he was 3 years older than you, and so you didn't know that's what you should have, tried to emulate.
Right. Had no idea. Oh man, good stuff. All right. So yeah, cheers your Breck Brew on this day to the history of Colorado Rockies and Colorado not Rockies specific baseball.
Coloradans.
Coloradoans playing baseball. Yeah. I was listening to a documentary recently and somebody kept doing that, saying Coloradoans, and I was like, please stop. I don't know what the exact right way to say it is, but
Coloradan. It's Coloradan.
Colorado.
Yeah, there's a certain etymology. I forget what it's called, but there's demonym. Yeah, I think that actually might be what it's called, a demonym. DEMONYN. But yeah, it's Coloradan.
Colorado.
I mean, you're not dumb if you say Coloradoan. You're dumb if you say Coloradone. Like, oh no, DOAN, Dome.
Coloradome.
That's dumb. Everything else, I will give it to you.
Far too many Breck Brews or Celsius. Drink your Breck Brews and Celsius responsibly out there. Have a couple over the next couple of days while the Rockies are playing the Mariners. You can get a bigger one down at the DNVR bar. If you're a member of the family, we highly recommend you subscribe today. You'll be able to get access to all the written content. You can come hang out with us in the Discord channel, chatting 24/7 about the Rockies or any of the other sports, anything going on in movies or TV or out there in the world. Very delicious things that people are making that look delicious, and they take pictures of them and they put them in there, and I go, that looks delicious. It's just a massive family of people hanging out, sharing good vibes, enjoying each other's company, and treating each other like family. So if that sounds like a good time to you, subscribe, come hang out with us. We'll send you a free shirt just for joining up today. All that kind of good stuff. The bigger beer down at the bar. Do come hang out with us at trivia tonight. It's 7:00 Mountain Time, local time here, down at the DNVR bar, doing the trivia thing. I don't know exactly what the prizes will be, but there will be prizes. That's how trivia works. You go, you bring in a team, and
top three win prizes.
That's right. So come have fun. Come hang out, drink your Breck Brews, be a member of the family. Follow everyone on social media at Patrick D. Lyons, at Drew Creasman, at DNVR_Rockies, at Makayla E. Perkins. She'll be back around before too long. Before you know it, make sure you're giving her a follow. Supporting everybody in the family. All the other beats, too. Follow DNVR Broncos and Nuggets and Avalanche and Rams and the Buffs and rugby. And is there one more? I feel like there's one more. The golf. Do not forget DNVR Golf. I was going to feel real bad if I left our guys, Mitch and Spence, out. Got to love. We'll have Spence back on as soon as his Superstars team cools off a little bit, jerk. So thank you all for hanging out with us for this one. Go and watch some baseball tonight. We'll be along with you, of course, for the next few days. Keep being absolutely awesome baseball fans out there. We'll keep being absolutely Patrick Lyons and Drew Creasman in here. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.